he did the thing, he did the thing. Yeah, best to get in the laughs now, because once we get to the rest of this episode, oh boy. We open this week on a lighter note with Tsubasa just playing Precure with the princess.
Could I get any heavier foreshadowing?
Before we cut over to learning how her parents were still comatose, and understandably, unrest was starting to fester in the kingdom. But then we got some good news from Miss Berry, revealing that there had been sightings of Captain Shalala, who would disappear almost just as soon as people spotted her. And in a much better use of her character compared to previous weeks, Agiha rightfully pointed out that this was kind of sus, which even in Shalala's biggest admirer in Sora couldn't deny. Moreover, even though she clearly wanted to be reunited with the captain, she couldn't act on her own and needed to consult with her friends who... These two are going to kill me with their wholesomeness one day. I'm not even really kidding, as even the following scene featured another really cute scene of Mashiro consulting Sora, and even being kind of playful over how overly studious the hero girl was when writing notes in her book. You know, the notebook she originally bought for her to replace her old one. Yeah, even though Sora was simping hard for the captain and her teachings that she was trying to abide by, she also greatly appreciated everything her partner had done for her, including in the previous scene.
Hey! You two should kiss!
Thanks, that meme was starting to get a little dusty. Needless to say, this whole scene gave me diabetes, and it was totally worth it. Really, it's at moments like this where you can really tell the show's head writer had returned with his good taste. And speaking of taste, our protagonist went on a nice little trip to the grocery store where everyone was joyous and happy, and oh crap, something bad's about to happen, isn't it? Yep, there we go. So after giving chase to someone who looked like she was going to Anime Expo this weekend, with some really nice and foreboding direction, Sora thought that she had reunited with her idol, but...
You!
Of course, it all turned out to be a trick by Batamonda, who I guess after like 7 episodes finally decided to get serial again, as apparently he still held a grudge over Sora completely one-upping him in Skyland.
You little liar!
But yeah, while I think I've rightfully ragged on this dude over the past few episodes, I think it's actually great to see a more threatening Batamonda again, with this being yet another sign that the head writer, Ryunosuke Kingetsu, was back to properly write this character as a sadist with a very petty and toxic streak. We also finally got a new eye catch, with our protagonists practicing their transformations in their PJs. Very cute, and probably some decent exercise before y'all go to bed. Anyway, we then got a fight about halfway into the episode, which meant some nice animation, including some awesome environmental effects, and some more overly smooth Batamonda that was at least justified here, and doesn't feel nearly as wasteful as that. Anyway, even though Sora was holding her own against the monster, there was the little detail that it had a very familiar looking sword, to which the general added on a cape to really hammer it home. So basically, you pulled a Rain in the Devil Gundam trick, though personally, I think she should be a different G Gundam character, but more on that later. But yeah, that meant that every hit the Shalala board took was transferred to the captain. And of course, if it should fall, so would she. This gave our main hero girl a hard blue screen, leaving her a sitting duck. Fortunately, she was saved by her teammates, and even healed thanks to Agiha's all-in-one palette. Honestly, I'm just kind of surprised it took this long to confirm that it could restore HP too. However, this only ended up allowing Sora to pull something very unbecoming of a hero, and told her teammates to not defeat the dangerous monster. All because she didn't want to see her precious idol be hurt. I mean, don't get me wrong, I understand what she's doing, and actually think this is some great drama, but as we'll explain in just a bit, it probably wasn't the optimal decision. Regardless, it did at least lead into another really nice bit with Mashiro comforting her, so that's an instant 10 points. Boo! Go back to the A-team, you spotlight thieves. Of course, the two figured that they could use their finisher to harmlessly purify the Shalala board and save the captain, and before I could even question if that would even work, the episode kind of cleverly subverted my expectations and straight up said,
Nope.
because, as it turned out, right after that aforementioned defeat from 7 episodes ago, Batamonda found an unconscious Shalala and proceeded to replace all of her lost stamina with undark energy. With her wounds having failed to heal naturally, the evil energy became her lifeline, meaning that if it were to dissipate... As for why it took him like 7 episodes to execute this plan, especially considering how pissed off he was at Sora, well...
The answer is don't think about it.
Yeah, I'll admit, this is some pretty sloppy, serialized writing, but let's just appreciate this dude trolling the Precure hard by making fun of all the finishers they couldn't use against his monster. Legit, this is the best Batamonda has looked as a villain in a long time. Anyway, the fight was cut short when the Shalala Borg sprung a leak from its neck. Jesus, that's surprisingly graphic. Forcing the villain to retreat from his overly symbolic sitting spot. Seriously, did he set that up, or were the construction workers... You know what, never mind. And with that, the episode ended the only way it could for Sora. After all, while her reasons were understandable, she did actively get in the way of her friends defeating an evil monster. One that would not only cause more damage, but as was established in this very episode, was vital to saving the king and queen and in turn her kingdom. Thus, even with her friends comforting her and brainstorming ways to save Shalala, Sora had to face the fact that a hero who can't fight and acts on their own desires has no right to call themselves a hero. Understandably, there was no cameo cure this week to cheer anyone up after an episode like that, though there was the new second ending theme that was pretty cheerful. Granted, in terms of melody and vocals, it was a lot more subdued than the first, but it also had much better visuals and choreography in my opinion. Thus, while I do lean more towards Hirogaruism as a song, I do kind of like this better as an ending sequence that feels a lot more uplifting in some ways, and certainly more like a proper dance and ending. Though, I think there might have been an animation error here, otherwise why would they have 5 lights here when there's only 4 Precure, as well as a huge open space next to Tsubasa? Now, before we get to the closing thoughts, let's bring up the issue of Shalala and some of my admittedly theorizing, but just hear me out. With the current direction, it seems like, if anything, she's going to be brainwashed, or at least corrupted, as a result of being injected with all of that undark energy. Now, that might be a decent twist if it is corruption, and less if it's brainwashing. Because if I've said it once, I've said 1,000 times, brainwashing is a total narrative cop-out. But I am still kind of suspicious about that letter she left behind, as if she knew she was going to be captured by the enemy. This still kind of makes me feel like she's a double agent for the Empire, even hiding this fact from her would-be comrades. Thus, maybe she just played along with Batamonda's plan as a massive gambit to spur on Sora. Yes, I know it's a bit of a stretch, but I'm still holding out hope for a Master Asia-esque twist, where he revealed that he was never under the control of the Devil Gundam, and therefore almost ended all life on Earth because he was the most extremist of tree huggers. Hell, Ryunosuke has shown that he's a fan of G Gundam in one of his previous works. You don't just get Tomokazu Seki to come in to play a parody of one of his most iconic characters just to hammer home a joke. But yeah, in Shalala's case, I'd like to see her reveal that she was on the enemy side all along, and say that this was all just a ploy to turn Sora into her warped ideal of a hero girl, but Sora would find her own better path to heroism with Mashiro, the one who is truly guiding her this whole time. Those are just my thoughts, so do feel free to let me know if you think I'm way off my rocker. The answer is yes. But otherwise, this was still a great episode. It truly felt like a drastic, yet effective shakeup that's really going to challenge the ideals of our protagonists. Yes, there are issues with a lot of this happening now, but that's more of an issue of the other episodes, and not this episode specifically. Whether or not they go with my theorized twist for Shalala, Sora's ideals of heroism are already being challenged, which is something I really want to see in the show. For all of her posturizing about wanting to live up to her idol's heroic ideals, she froze up when said idol was a roadblock in front of her. It's a great bit of tragic irony as Sora just completely shut down both on her friends and her own kingdom as she refused the call of a hero girl. It's something I love seeing in Across the Spider-Verse and love seeing here, where the hero has to wonder whether or not they can truly save everyone. To match up with such high drama, Akira Sekine and Ken really pulled out their A-game acting chops to really sell the conflict between the good and evil sides of the conflict respectively. The latter, thankfully, felt much more like a villain than he had in previous episodes, which does lead into the massive inconsistency of him sleeping on this plan for like 7 episodes if he was that bitter towards Sora. Regardless though, at least we're getting a good conflict now, as well as some great interactions with our original duo. I just love how, if anything, they've really gotten across the idea that Mashiro is and always has been there for Sora as her true guiding hand, as symbolized by the notebook that has bonded the two. Hopefully, Sora can realize this, as overall, this was a fantastic episode that really upped the character drama. Sora might not see herself as a hero girl right now, but she will also remain one in another girl's eyes. Believe it or not, we actually might be able to get the third part of the Friday review out this week. Granted, that will probably be because this is going to be one of the shorter reviews for the series, because really there wasn't much to talk about, which should kind of give you a preview of what I think about this part of the series. Still to look forward to it. Until next time though, farewell for now my friends, and if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go back to playing some Rain Code. Somehow I feel like this game is going to be a lot less depressing than this episode.